What if the very meat sitting on your dinner plate tonight is quietly pushing your kidneys closer to failure, and you don't even feel it happening? I'm Dr. Mark Ellis, and over the past 20 years, I've had patients look me straight in the eye and say, "But doctor, I eat healthy." And they truly believed it. They avoided sugar, they walked every morning, they chose what they thought was lean protein, yet their creatinine kept rising, their blood pressure crept higher, and their energy slowly faded. The most dangerous part: their kidneys never scream for help. They don't cause sharp pain. They don't flash warning lights. They decline silently often until nearly half of their function is already gone. Right now in the United States, millions of adults are living with early kidney damage and have no idea. And one of the most overlooked triggers isn't exotic supplements or extreme diets, it's the everyday protein choices we make without thinking. The type of meat you eat doesn't just build muscle. It determines how much nitrogen waste your body must clear, how much acid stress your blood carries, and how hard those tiny filtering units inside your kidneys have to work every single day. But here's the part most people never hear: protecting your kidneys isn't about eliminating meat entirely. It's about choosing the right kind of protein, the kind your body can actually process cleanly without flooding your system with excess phosphorus, purines, and inflammatory byproducts. And when you understand the difference, the shift is powerful. In this video, I'm going to walk you through 4 specific meats that are often recommended in kidney-friendly nutrition plans across the United States, and more importantly, I'll show you why they matter, how they support tissue repair, and how cooking them the wrong way can undo every benefit. Because sometimes the line between helping your kidneys heal and quietly harming them is thinner than you think. And by the end of this conversation, you'll know exactly where that line is drawn. Let's start with the foundation, the protein that often determines whether your kidneys feel supported or silently overwhelmed. Skinless chicken breast may not sound glamorous, but in kidney nutrition, it is one of the most strategic choices you can make. The reason is simple but powerful: not all protein creates the same metabolic burden. When your body breaks down protein, it produces nitrogen waste and acids that your kidneys must filter out. The heavier the waste load, the harder your kidneys work. Skinless chicken breast provides high biological value protein, meaning your body can use more of it for repair and muscle maintenance while producing less leftover waste compared to many red meats. I once worked with a 64-year-old patient named Robert who thought switching from steak to chicken was a small, insignificant change. 3 months later, his blood urea nitrogen levels had improved noticeably, and more importantly, he reported feeling less fatigued in the afternoons. Was chicken a miracle cure? No. But by lowering his dietary phosphorus intake and reducing saturated fat, we reduced inflammatory stress on his blood vessels, and kidneys depend heavily on healthy blood flow. Lower BUN doesn't just look good on paper, it's a marker of kidney workload. Lower BUN doesn't just look good on paper, it often reflects less strain on those tiny filtering units called nephrons. Another overlooked advantage is phosphorus control. When kidney function declines, phosphorus begins to accumulate in the blood, contributing to vascular calcification and even heart complications. Chicken breast naturally contains less phosphorus than most red meats, and unlike processed meats, it doesn't come packed with easily absorbed phosphate additives unless it's heavily processed. And that's where many people unknowingly sabotage themselves. Fried chicken, breaded strips, frozen nuggets, and deli-style sliced chicken often contain sodium and phosphate preservatives that are absorbed rapidly, placing far greater stress on the kidneys than fresh, simply prepared chicken ever would. If you're listening right now, ask yourself honestly, how do you usually prepare chicken? Is it grilled lightly with herbs and lemon, or is it coated, salted, and processed beyond recognition? Small preparation choices quietly determine whether this food becomes protective or harmful. Because boiled, baked, or lightly grilled skinless chicken can support muscle repair without flooding your system with excess acid and fat, but once it's fried or heavily seasoned, that advantage disappears almost instantly. And here's the deeper truth. Chicken is a strong starting point, but it is only the beginning. Choosing the right protein is about reducing metabolic waste, protecting blood vessels, and giving your kidneys room to breathe. Yet even this safe option can turn risky under the wrong conditions. But knowing this alone is not enough, because there is another factor even more dangerous, and most people overlook it completely. But reducing nitrogen waste is only part of the equation. Because the next threat to your kidneys isn't always how much protein you eat, it's how your body processes purines and uric acid over time. That's where lean turkey becomes more than just another poultry option. It becomes a metabolic advantage when chosen wisely. Lean turkey contains less purine than most red meats, meaning it generates less uric acid during breakdown, and that matters because elevated uric acid has been associated with faster kidney function decline and increased inflammatory stress in the renal microcirculation. I remember a patient in his early 50s, active, disciplined, convinced his diet was clean, yet his uric acid levels were creeping upward every year. When we reviewed his meals, the pattern was clear: frequent red meat, occasional processed deli turkey, and very little attention to sodium. We transitioned him to fresh, unprocessed lean turkey, prepared at home, reduced overall purine load, and within months, his uric acid stabilized. Clinical data supports this pattern. Studies suggest diets lower in purine. Rich red meats are associated with reduced hyperuricemia risk and slower progression of kidney impairment in at-risk individuals. Turkey also provides selenium, a trace mineral that plays a role in antioxidant defense, helping counter oxidative stress, one of the silent accelerators of kidney damage. But here's the nuance most people miss. Deli turkey smoked slices and cured varieties often contain high sodium and phosphate preservatives, which can undo every potential benefit. The form matters just as much as the food itself. So let me ask you directly, are you choosing fresh cuts or convenience-packed sodium bombs? Because the difference isn't small, it's physiological. Lean turkey can be a strategic ally, but it is not invincible. And if you think the next option is automatically safer just because it's lighter and seafood-based, that's exactly where many people get blindsided. But knowing this alone is not enough, because there is another factor even more dangerous, and most people overlook it completely. And that brings us to a category many people assume is automatically safe: white fish. Cod, tilapia, haddock. They sound light, clean, almost medicinal. And in many ways they can be. But here's where nuance matters, because what protects your kidneys isn't just that something is seafood, it's how it behaves metabolically inside your body. Whitefish provides high-quality, easily digestible protein with lower saturated fat than most land-based meats. That matters because saturated fat contributes to endothelial dysfunction, and your kidneys rely on delicate blood vessels to filter waste efficiently. When those vessels stiffen or inflame, filtration suffers. Compared to fatty red meats, whitefish reduces that inflammatory burden, giving your kidneys a calmer internal environment to work in. Some studies even associate higher fish intake with improved cardiovascular markers. And since kidney health and vascular health are deeply connected, that's not a small detail. I once had a patient who proudly told me I switched to fish every night. On paper, that sounded excellent. But when we looked closer, most of it was frozen, pre-seasoned, sodium-injected fillets. His blood pressure was creeping up, not down. Here's the reality: many commercially packaged fish products are treated with sodium solutions to preserve texture and weight. That extra sodium increases fluid retention and blood pressure, two direct stressors on kidney function. So the advantage disappears if you're not careful. Fresh, simply prepared white fish, baked, steamed, lightly grilled, can absolutely support a kidney-friendly pattern. It offers lean protein without overwhelming purine levels and typically generates less metabolic waste than red meat. But portion control still matters. Even clean protein produces nitrogen waste, and overconsumption quietly adds to filtration demand. Let me ask you something. When you buy fish, do you check the label for added sodium, or do you assume seafood equals safe? Because that assumption is exactly where many well-intentioned people get caught off guard. Whitefish can be a strategic middle ground, lighter than red meat, supportive of vascular health, easier on digestion, but it is not a free pass. And if you think the final option is just another variation of seafood, what comes next may surprise you. But knowing this alone is not enough, because there is another factor even more dangerous. And most people overlook it completely. And now we arrive at the most misunderstood choice on this list: fresh shrimp. On the surface, shrimp looks like the perfect compromise. It's lean, high in protein, low in saturated fat, and widely promoted as a clean seafood option. But this is where kidney health becomes less about trends and more about precision. Shrimp delivers high-quality protein in a relatively small serving, which means you can meet your amino acid needs without consuming large volumes of food. That's a metabolic advantage. It also contains antioxidants like astaxanthin, which may help reduce oxidative stress, one of the drivers of vascular damage. In moderation, fresh shrimp can absolutely fit into a kidney-conscious diet. But here's where things turn serious. Shrimp naturally contains cholesterol and moderate purine levels. For someone with elevated uric acid or reduced kidney filtration, frequent large portions can quietly increase metabolic waste production. And the real danger isn't fresh shrimp cooked at home, it's processed shrimp. Breaded shrimp, salted cocktail shrimp, frozen pre-seasoned shrimp. These often contain added sodium and preservatives that dramatically increase kidney workload. Sodium raises blood pressure. Elevated blood pressure damages the tiny glomeruli inside your kidneys, and that damage accumulates slowly, often invisibly. I had a patient who believed switching from steak to shrimp scampi every night was a heart-healthy upgrade. 6 months later, his labs showed rising uric acid and borderline hypertension. The issue wasn't shrimp itself, it was frequency, portion, and size and preparation. Kidney-friendly nutrition isn't about labeling a food as good or bad, it's about dosage, context, and consistency. Let me ask you directly, how often do you eat shrimp in a week, once, twice? Or is it a staple you consider completely safe? Because the difference between strategic use and silent overuse is where long-term kidney outcomes are shaped. Fresh shrimp can be included wisely, but it sits on a thin line. Too much too often, prepared the wrong way, and the protective illusion disappears. And this is the part most people never hear. Kidney decline doesn't come from one catastrophic meal. It comes from repeated well-intentioned habits that slowly compound over years. But knowing this alone is not enough, because what truly determines whether your kidneys recover or deteriorate lies beyond a single food choice, and that's exactly what we need to talk about next. If there is one message I want you to take away from today, it's this: your kidneys are not fragile, but they are patient. They work for you every second of every day, filtering nearly 50 gallons of blood, balancing minerals, regulating blood pressure, keeping your internal chemistry stable. And most of the time, they do it quietly. The problem is not one single meal, it's the pattern. It's the repeated choices that either reduce stress or slowly increase it over years. You don't need a perfect diet. You don't need extreme restrictions. What you need is awareness and consistency. Choose fresh over processed. Control your portions. Pay attention to sodium and hidden phosphate additives. Rotate your protein sources instead of relying on one single option every day. These small adjustments compound in your favor, and your kidneys respond to that relief more than you might realize. If this video helped you see protein choices in a new way, I encourage you to save it so you can come back to it when planning your meals. And if you care about staying ahead of silent health risks like kidney decline, make sure you subscribe to this channel. I share evidence-based practical medical insights designed to help you protect your health before problems become irreversible. Your kidneys can't speak loudly, but you can choose to listen early. And the truth is, with the right habits, many people can slow decline, stabilize function, and in some cases even improve their markers over time. That is not false hope. That is physiology working in your favor. Take care of your kidneys now, so they can continue taking care of you for decades to come.